Mandy Hand. Welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you coming on. And I wanted to bring you on specifically because you are a huge pop music fan. You like pop. You are not even remotely ashamed of loving pop music. In fact, you make pop music. So I kind of want to start there. What got you into making pop music?
Well, first of all, it's great to be on your show. What got me into making pop music? I just wrote my songs naturally. I think that, and I thought I was a rock and roll songwriter. I'm very influenced by 90s grunge, 90s rock, like the whole gamut of the 90s, because that's when I was in middle and high school. Um,
Same.
yeah, yeah. So it's in my blood. Now, that's not to say that I didn't pick up on the 80s pop from when I was a little kid, but I had to get bits and pieces of that because my parents listened to country. So
Hmm.
at my house, it was country and the oldies. But anyway, to answer your question, I think that what really put my former band Big Heaven in that direction was our second EP was produced by a guy named Robbie Rux, Rux, and he is a fixture. He doesn't live in Fort Worth anymore, but he was a fixture here in our scene. And he put a Roland Juno 60 on like our breakout song as much as it broke out. And that really sent us in the synth pop direction. And that was very exciting because it was different enough at the time to distinguish us.
So
So
you saw some success with a specific type of music that had clear pop elements. You enjoyed it, so I imagine that just incentivized you to kind of stay on that path, and as you were on that path, you got better at it, you explored it a little bit, had fun with it, and at that point, when you saw that success with your synth pop stuff, at that point, did you kind of commit to yourself, this is what I love to do, I'm going to do it? Or did you still think to yourself, I would like to make different types of music?
certainly the latter. I always wanted Big Heaven to be an identifiable brand. So I knew that we couldn't go too far out of those lanes. But I think pop is a big enough descriptor that we could have gone a little bit more rock, which we kind of did later on when we got our last guitar player, Kevin Wellendorf, because he threw out a lot of really amazing solos and everything. So we really went more in a pop rock direction. But within that genre, we also could have gone in a much more synthy direction. So I never felt hemmed in by it. I think it's a pretty broad genre.
Yeah, and it's probably the most broad genre. In fact, you could you could almost look at it like I don't know if parasite's the right word, but a symbiotic parasite. Like doesn't necessarily destroy the genres it goes into. It just plays into the genres. And you the most recent big example we saw of that was, and it's just kind of the advantage that pop has. It doesn't have to sound a certain way. It just has to be the popular music. It does have to have certain elements, but the example that I think of most recently was, Beyonce putting on a cowboy hat and making a pop record that they called a country record. It clearly was not a country record, in my opinion, but with pop, you can just kind of cosplay as a different genre and maintain those pop elements and take a share of a different genre's fan base, and obviously the Beyonce fans, they are Beyonce fans. They will listen to whatever she comes out with and embrace it. And then there will be some country music listeners that are, I guess, more open minded. They don't care so much about traditional country sounds, and they'll kind of get into it as well. So, in a way, pop music has the advantage of being able to dress up as something else, kind of put on a disguise and succeed in different avenues, which is one reason pop, I think, is always a thing, because it doesn't, if you veer too far from country, like a lot of the rap country, which is I just call pop. A lot of that rap country, they can veer as far away from country as they want to, but as long as there are people who think it's country music and love listening to country music, it's kind of their identity. They can stick with it without the country music fans can adopt it as their own, and the people that like pop music get more pop music. So, what exactly do you think it is that pop, if you had to if you had to define pop outside of the other genres, let's just say pop music that cannot cosplay as any other genre, what what encompasses that? The pure pop genre?
That's a really great question. And I also, before I answer that, I do want to go into the cosplay aspect because I think Nashville country has also done that over the years. So maybe we can
Sure.
we can come back to that because I think that's a really interesting point. Well, pop means popular, and you can go all the way back to the standards era, back in all the way back to even Tin Pan Alley. So that would have been the early 20th century when songwriters in New York City were writing tunes to sell to homes that had pianos because everybody had a piano because gramophones were expensive. So people were making music on their own, but they wanted songs to play. So they would write these songs and they were called pop because they were popular. They were broad appeal, probably lighthearted subject matter, major chord structures. And then that led to what we would call what became known as the standards, but later on people think of as jazz, but the things that Frank Sinatra played and all of these like big bands would play these tunes, but they also had lyrics. Well, those were really called standards. They weren't really jazz. And then you know, that you kind of follow that thread into the 50s bubblegum pop that wasn't really rock and roll. Think of bands like the Dixie Cups, you know, going to the chapel and
Mhm.
you know, they're going to get married, going to the chapel. I think it's just the most, and I don't mean this as an insult. I think that pop music is the most broad appeal, middle of the road, non-offensive, but not in a bad way. It doesn't mean that it's not interesting. It just means it's not meant to push anybody's buttons.
It
And
caters to the majority, so by
right.
nature,
Until
most
Madonna,
people are gonna like it.
you know, until Madonna came along and everything became about sex, but she was filtering it through this really bubblegummy sound. So I think the rules kind of changed in the 80s as far as what the subject matter was. Although there's always been innuendo about that.
Let me ask this question, a hypothetical, I guess, and I'm sure it's happened. If, for example, actual country music, like Merle Haggard sounding country music, if 90% of America listened to that, would that be called pop music?
I think by definition, but I think country is such a
It describes something distinctively.
it's so distinct that I mean, you would almost have to go back to before it would almost be an alternate reality that that wouldn't be called country. I think because of country's origins as a music of a people and of a place, even though it might be pop because everybody's listening to it. Well, think about like Achy Breaky Heart. You remember when that came out? I mean, that was a massive hit.
Every skating ring in the
Yep.
country just play that every hour.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And maybe that's not a great example because if you really distill it down, it's really not a country song. If you just play the melody and the chord changes, it's a pop song.
Yeah, it's a pop song.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know that a Merle Haggard song could be a pop song. That's an
Yeah,
excellent
no matter
question.
how popular it was, it would be a very popular country song.
Yes. Yeah. 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 You know.
But that does blur the definition because that we said the most popular and accepted music is pop.
Yeah.
But in that situation, I guess you would say, hey, pop is country music right now. Like it's one and the same. It's still country music, but right now country music is pop. Does that make
It could. I mean, are you saying hypothetically or are you saying that's true now?
hypothetically?
Yeah.
No, no. I mean, this is stretching my brain thin, but I mean, Morgan Wallen's not really country. I don't think. I don't think
See,
anyone would call him country.
and these really new guys, I haven't listened. I mean, I've listened to some things in passing, but I don't know any names to sounds. So can
Uh-huh.
you describe him for me and the people that don't know Morgan Wallen?
Well, I also don't know him very well.
Okay.
I don't. I have heard his music, and I will say that it sounded like hip hop and pop put on a trench coat and then moved into the country music place and popped out with a cowboy hat on, and people said, "Oh, it's country music," but it doesn't sound like he literally does like a rapping thing in
Okay.
many of the songs. But he's enormously popular. Like he's broken records and stuff. So
Well, that whole trap
It just depends on what you wanna call it, I guess.
I mean, I feel like that whole trap beat added to country has been around for at least a decade now.
Yeah.
So I think he's just capitalizing on something that's already been a factor. And that makes I don't know. But when I think about that and I'm like, that is the most to me, this is my opinion. That's the most incongruous genre blending that's happened yet in country. Because if you think about the 90s, if you listen to like I don't know if you have XM satellite radio, but they have that. Oh man, it's okay. Like, I have a free subscription, I'm gonna write it out until I don't have it anymore. But there's a channel in there called Prime Country, and they play everything
I've heard it.
yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah.
everything from about 1987 to about 97 or maybe the very end of the century. Now that I have heard so much more music from back then when I was a kid, I realized that that late 80s and 90s sound was very influenced by rock, which was I mean, hip hop was coming up, but that was still the dominance of rock. You know, in the late 80s, it was the dominance of the hair bands, and then it kind of became the grunge thing. And so when you listen to those country songs, and a lot of them did have acoustic sounds. I mean, they're still very recognizably country, but there's a lot of guitar solos and there's a lot of distortion. And then when you listen back further and you go from like not Outlaw, so not Merle, not Waylon, not Willie, but I think maybe even George Jones. I'm not sure. I'm not as up on my like 70s country as I should be, but a lot of that 70s to mid 80s country had those very shimmery arrangements, like almost like big string arrangements and
Yeah, yeah, they had
like
strings and
almost
guitars.
yeah, and, like, almost disco, like, not in the beat, but in the
Mhm.
arrangement with all the strings, and so, I think mainstream country has always pulled from whatever is popular otherwise. So, I don't know that the hip hop thing I think it was maybe inevitable. I just, in my humble opinion, once again, think that the trap beats are the least compatible.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It takes it so far away from the country sound
Yes.
that you're like, this doesn't remind me of country music at all."
Yes, and, like, that guy can sing with a twang all he wants to, and that's another thing I've noticed is that a lot of the trap sounding country, those guys really put on the twang because it's almost like they know. They're like, "This is the only thing that is making this sound like a country song."
That and that it's the twang is a huge factor. If you sound like you're from the South or from Texas, rural Texas, that goes a very long way. And then, of course, the subject matter. I used
Yeah.
to listen to a radio show that they had like a country music checklist. They say, "Critter," he said, "Critter, truck, small town, beer." Like, you've got a checklist, you gotta hit the checklist and sing it with a Southern accent so that people listening don't feel like, "I'm not listening to country music. What am I doing? I'm a country music fan. I'm listening to pop music." So it's almost like they're intentionally trying to trick you into not abandoning them in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, and then when you can take it back further and kinda ask yourself, like, I hope they weren't doing that to me in the 90s because I love those songs, like, Little Texas, like, I love that band, but I've listened to them a little bit. I made a 4th of July playlist, and I'm a total Texas patriot, I'm a 6th generation Texan, so I was like, Little Texas has to be on this playlist, you know? But I was listening to God Bless Texas, and I was like, "This is a rock song, like, this is not a
Oh, for
country song."
sure. Yeah.
Um you know, but I don't know why it didn't bother me. I guess because well, think about rock and roll. Rock and roll and country have closer roots, I think, than hip hop and country. And maybe that's
Yeah.
why. Oh, because rock and
Yeah.
roll came from rockabilly.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And frankly, I guess an easy fix for the country topic specifically would be, is it traditional country or is it a different country? Because I love traditional country. I still listen to it from time to time, but my favorite country is rock country, which is why I'm so into the Texas country and the red dirt country because I'm friends with Mike McClure. You familiar with Mike McClure?
Yeah, my brother told me about him. He loves red dirt too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mike McClure is obsessed with Van Halen.
Oh,
He
yeah.
loves he loves Eddie Van Halen specifically, but he's a rocker. He's a rocker who also loves Oklahoma folk music and country music, but he is definitely a rocker. And when he was making his music, they obviously had country elements, but he could not help himself. He had to do guitar solos, he had to have a heavy distortion, and, that's always been my favorite iteration of country music is the rocking country music, and I'm so glad that Texas got really into that because it's kinda known for it. You know, Texas country is its own entity. People love Texas country. There's bands that are even from other states trying to call themselves Texas country, which is weird, but that's what's happening. And I also wanted to talk about specifically what turns people off from pop.
Mm.
And I don't think because I'm a good person to talk about this because I try to avoid pop as often as possible for, like, ethical reasons. I don't like what modern pop artists I don't like who they are as people or
Mm.
who they at least come off as. They may torture them to have this persona. I don't know. I haven't met them, you know. If they're doing it purely to make a living and they hate it, it is what it is. But the messages, the pop music, I think back in the day, like just look at Michael Jackson for example. He had all these different messages and meanings, and sometimes he would hit heavy subjects that people kind of needed to work out in their heads, and he would help them with that. And I don't have many examples. Michael Jackson's the one that popped in my head. But nowadays, it seems like all the pop music that I hear is very hypersexual and hyper modern feminist. And
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I hear what you're saying 100%. I'll kind of riff on Michael a little bit. So I work with kids in my day job, and sometimes I have to find upbeat pop music to play, not, just for atmospheric purposes. And I love Michael Jackson's back catalog because most of it is appropriate. And even if it's about love or romance, it doesn't hit you over the head with it. It's like, hey, come be my sweetheart. Or like a real sweet, I'll be there. That might have been Jackson 5, actually. The song I'll Be There.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, "Just call my name, I'll be there," like, that is so earnest and wonderful. Or, like, even Black or White from 1991, "She's my baby, doesn't matter if she's black or white." I mean, that was a social, stance. I think Michael Jackson had a lot of sincerity, and I know that and I'll go to Madonna too, because I know that she built her brand on being as edgy and sexual as possible, but if you go through her deep cuts, she wrote a really heartfelt, like a really not heart gut-wrenching song about her mom's death. Um, there's some real sincerity in there, and I agree with you. I think that a lot of the subject matter now, and I don't even know if it's in the songs themselves, but, videos used to be kind of their own thing, but now it's like the video and the song are inextricable. Somebody like Sabrina Carpenter, that her whole image is this, her songs to me are not envelope pushing, but she crafts this whole image that makes you not even wanna listen to the songs because the video's so gross. Like, she has this video where she's wearing shorts that look like bikini bottoms and, like, it's her butt the whole time, but if you cover that up and just listen to the song, it sounds like a sweet song, but it's never just gonna be about the song, it's always gonna be about that particular image. And then you can go even further with somebody like Doja Cat, who is a total psychopath, in my opinion. I mean, her songs are crazy. They don't make sense. Or if they do make sense, they're about something that I don't even want to know about. And then her videos, like she's covered in like red PVC, like looking like a literal Satan. Yeah, I don't know.
All I know about Doja Cat was, and due to the nature of pop, I'm sure I've heard one of her songs and just had no idea,
Mhm.
during a commercial or something. But I saw someone on Twitter post something that had a lot of responses, and the account was named Poop, and that was Doja Cat. She named herself Poop on Twitter. So at that point, I knew that she was kind of crazy. But and it's not just the women. Like Lil Nas X was giving a lap dance to the devil, and assumed his throne or something like that. Like, it's not just the women.
And talk about somebody who I don't wanna use the word appropriated because I think it's been overused, but let's say,
Borrowed from?
borrowed Western image, like country Western images, Old Town
Mhm.
Road. definitely not a country song, like, by any stretch of the
That was a
imagination.
big debate when it came out too,
Right? It was. I
for
think
some reason.
wasn't didn't he get nominated for a CMA, or they were talking about nominating
Probably.
him or something?
Beyonce won a country award, I believe.
Yeah. I don't remember, but in fact, I've got my phone. I'll look it up right now.
Well, so, I think that obviously to supplement music worth listening to, they will add in edginess, like giving Satan a lap dance, or just sex. That's the easiest thing. That's sex is used to manipulate people, has been used to manipulate people since the Bible days, right? It's always been happening. And if you can't just on the song alone make any traction, then just show your breasts and let your butt hang out the back of your pants. And that alone, I think a lot of pop artists, I'm sure every artist dabbles in this black magic, but I think that a lot of pop artists, they know that they're making the same type of stuff as the other pop artists at the time due to the nature of what pop is. You must do the popular thing at that time. And I think to stick out, they kind of have to do something that the other ones aren't doing, such as lap dance for Satan or be more sexual than the last person. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense, but it's funny because then they all end up doing that. So then they don't
Yeah.
even distinguish themselves.
But it works for a while. Like
Yeah,
if no one is showing their butt cheeks and one person shows their butt cheeks and becomes number 1,
right.
the other people who are willing to show their butt cheeks will also be in the top 10 until people are tired of seeing butt cheeks. And now someone's got to figure out the next shocking thing. Then the cycle just keeps repeating itself over and over.
So I'm so glad that you said the next shocking thing because I have something to show you. So, do you remember the Sabrina Carpenter controversy about her? This was about, I don't know, back in the spring. She came out with her new album, and her album cover is like, it's not like, is her on the floor at a man's feet and he's pulling her hair. Have you seen that?
I missed that.
Okay. Well, it was almost predictable. I mean, it's inappropriate for her. Let me back up. So she used to be on Disney, I guess. I don't know. I've never had cable, but she used to be a Disney star. So she's got,
Most pop stars used to be on Disney for
yes,
some.
right. So then they still have this kind of reputation as a children's entertainer, even though they want to say, well, I'm 26 years old now. I can do whatever I want. So because they're 26 years old now and they can do whatever they want, and they're so eager to throw off the children's entertainer image, they do these really shocking things like put themselves on an album cover with a man grabbing her hair, and like it's like very S&M. But on the
So
other,
I was gonna ask you what they're implying there. Is it her getting beat or her being submissive
it's
or
it's
S&M?
you tell me. I don't know.
It's kinda vague.
But it's kind of vague, but it's like, we've seen this before. It's actually not it's shocking if you're a kid and you were a fan of hers because she was on that show that you liked on Disney, and that's what's bad about it. Because she knows and she can say, or the people around her can say, "Well, she's an adult now and she can do whatever she wants." But they know that she and others like her still have very young fans. They cannot not know this. They have whole teams around them to tell them who their demographics are. Like, you don't get to that level and
Sure.
not know who your fans are. So, I think to me the shocking thing is them knowing that there are still such young fans who will see that. But the image itself, because of how much we've gone off the rails as a culture in America, the image itself is not, it's almost boring. It's like, does that make sense? Like, the image itself is,
They can't really shock you anymore? Is that kinda what
yeah,
you're getting at?
like it should be like we expect it.
Yeah,
Obvious.
you the pop yeah, that's what I'm saying. You expect the pop star to do
Here,
something crazy.
I'm going to show it to you. I'm gonna put it, let me see if this will work. Okay, so this is the actual album cover, and I don't remember what the name of the album is. Can you see that at all? Oh, probably not. Okay,
Just looks like that is.
so that's her on the floor. Hold on, I'm gonna turn on a light. This is
See.
live, everybody.
I'm gonna look it up.
You
I'll
look it
tell
up.
you.
There might even be a better way, because I also have, in fact, when you find it, tell me, because I'm gonna text you something, and then maybe you can put it on your camera, because I think I did something clever with the help of our robot overlords.
If I knew how to do technology, this
Maybe
I
just
used to know how to share my screen. In fact, I did it all the time. But I see that she does not look like she's having a bad time.
no.
It looks like she's enjoying the situation.
Okay, so I had ChatGPT mock up something that I thought would be actually shocking, and I'm about to text it to you. Are you ready? Okay, here it comes.
Was that an album cover?
What I just sent you?
Yeah.
No, I said to my robot overlord there, mock up this photo, but with her presenting a holiday turkey to the man.
I like this album cover. You did a great you and your robot overlord did a great job on this.
Thank you, thank you. I think that would actually be shocking.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like
it would.
that, like, people would lose their minds that she is being so trad.
Well, just so in case anyone needs to know, the picture was her in a very conservative dress, with an apron on, serving a man, like, holding a platter with a holiday duck, I guess, some bird.
Some poultry,
It
yeah.
looked delicious, and she's smiling and presenting it to him, and he's just kinda sitting there looking at her. But I think I know what you're getting at, like, that would be shocking to show the opposite of feminism, the album cover,
Yeah,
and that would work. That would get a
yeah,
lot of people interested in the album.
it would.
Yeah,
It would. I mean, like, it would it would generate so much more interesting controversy
yeah.
than her being on the floor with her parrot
Yeah,
being pulled.
so you're saying it would be a better idea to zig when everyone else is zagging. So,
1,000%.
if everyone's being slutty, don't try to be sluttier, go
Right,
the other way with it.
right, which is
Yeah.
why people got so mad at Lana Del Rey. I don't know if you follow her at all. I think you would like her music.
I don't love her music, it's very celestial. That's a strange word to
I
describe it, but
that
it sounds like angels singing or something like that.
Yes.
And I don't dislike it, and I have not given it enough of a try, so I'm not gonna put, like, a final verdict here, but I do know that she's kinda based, like,
Yeah.
she is not feminist, and she married a frickin' Cajun alligator angler and moved to Louisiana. I mean, you ain't a hardcore modern feminist if you do that.
Well, the best part about her is that, according to the feminist playbook, she did everything right. She had her own career and she still has her own career. She carved out her own identity. She just happened to sing favorably about love and men. And that made
Yeah,
people mad, but it's like that's what she wanted in life and that's what she put out into the universe and that's what her art was about. You know? But she still did all the feminist stuff, like I said, it's not like she got married at 18 and had 5 kids, that's what really pisses him off.
yeah, when a pop artist starts building a family,
Yeah,
loving their husband.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
and she's
go
got talent, she's beautiful,
yeah, for sure,
you know?
she's the total package.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me go back real quick to the Disney actor thing.
yeah.
So that is definitely a trend. You have a show on Disney in particular, but sometimes it's Nickelodeon.
So that's the other one, and
And
that might have been where Sabrina came from. Yeah,
but at any rate, you're a child star. Well, when you're a child star, I don't know if this works the same with little boys because I didn't really care about the little boy actors. I was like, what a dork. But I think the little girls love the little girl actors. They're like, this is my favorite Hannah Montana, whatever the case may be. Like, they love them. Damn near a god, like some lesser god to them.
that's how
And
girls
so
relate to characters, they imagine themselves as that character.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think boys just kind of judge them harshly.
Yeah, yeah, boys relate to characters totally differently. Yeah,
Yeah, unless the character's just a total badass, and they were like, oh my god.
yeah.
But you ain't gonna get that in a little kid show. I think what sucks about that for culture is that those little girls look up to the Hannah Montanas and all, and the poop girl. Who's the poop girl?
Doja Cat?
She can, and she's the poop girl to me now, unfortunately. But I don't think she cares. But they look up to him so much, and then when their favorite star begins publicly getting a new boyfriend every month and singing about being a slut and singing about not needing a family, those little girls are moved in that direction. And I don't care how good a pop song is. When I learned that the person that made that song, that artist when I learned that they're like that, I am very averse to supporting them. And I think that's very, for a responsible person, that's very reasonable. People like to say, "Oh, I separate the artist from the art." Well, I don't think that's a responsible thing to do. I care way more about the health of the nation than I do about a song, you know. And me and you both write songs. We're artists. I'm definitely into that. I support that. But there's just too much music out there for me to pick the one that's bad for society,
Yeah,
right?
and I think I'm really glad you brought up separating the art from the artist because, you know, when people wanna talk about how badly certain male artists behave and then they wanna cancel them, you should be able to choose not to engage with a female artist if you don't agree with the way that she's behaved.
It's universal.
That door needs to be able to swing both ways, otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the point here?
There are plenty of male artists, not even pop. I don't even know any male pop artists, to be honest with you, but there are plenty of male artists who they're they're super on the left, political left, like to a crazy extent, not just left of center, but just like a nut job. And some of them are considered the best. Like people tell me, like, oh, the greatest this, the greatest that. And when I figure out that that person's that type of person, I don't care how good the songs are. I'm just not going to listen to them because people fail to forget that where you spend your money, where you put your streams, who you promote, that is what changes culture. Because if you have some, let's just say you got a singer songwriter who is for pedophilia. It's a pretty extreme example, but something that's
I think
clearly bad.
a lot of them probably are, they just don't admit it
Well,
out
that's
loud.
true. But let's just say that one is open pedophilia. If you support that person, you're going to give permission to other pop artists. They're like, oh, that works. That guy got rich and famous telling people he was a pedophile. You know, I can kind of ride that train too. And now you are literally taking part in moving culture towards pedophilia.
Well, think about
Again,
what happened to Jerry Lee Lewis when it came out that he married his 13-year-old cousin.
yeah,
Okay, he was the greatest piano player of the '50s, but, you
he's
know,
amazing.
he was, but when he went to England and they came out and disavowed him,
Hmm.
that was the right thing for them to do.
And we don't do that anymore. You can do whatever
No.
you want. You can lap dance on Satan, get naked, do what you can do whatever you want to do, and
Yeah.
people will not make a stand because they're so proud of the fact that they had the intellectual capacity to separate these two things. And they think that makes them smart somehow, but no, that's actually not smart. You're doing a dumb thing by supporting a bad person and building their power over someone who would push society in the way that would affect your life in a much more positive way.
Yeah, and I think that even if they're only doing it for the money, even if they don't even believe that, that's even worse because
Yeah.
the net effect is the same. So at least, you know, at least have some conviction if you're gonna be disgusting, at least believe in it.
This is a perfect time for me to transition into a question in which your answer could help me get somewhat back into pop music. I'm not opposed to pop music. I'm just very opposed to modern pop music. So now that you know that I have listened to music with my morals in mind, with ethics in mind, I'm against the feminism, modern feminism. You know, I'm not advocating for suffrage, but I'm very much against modern feminism. I'm against the far left and the far right, frankly. Anyone who just has these crazy bad for society ideas and thoughts. What is besides yourself, some very high quality pop music for me to, let's just say really popular, right? Me and you are both quality artists. We're just not popular. It is what it is. It's fine.
It's
Uh, doesn't
okay.
mean, doesn't mean we're bad, but some popular pop artists, like let's just say at least 100,000 monthly listeners, who are some that I could listen to without a guilty conscience?
Okay, so I'm gonna mention 2, but I do not know their politics. But to my knowledge, they
You can kind of
are
get it from the music though, right?
right.
At
So,
least you know they're not crazy.
well, yeah. The first that comes to mind is DJ-O.
Hadn't heard of him.
Oh, man. So he is do you know the show Stranger Things?
Yes.
Okay, so he's Steve in Stranger Things,
Which one's Steve?
not one of the brothers. I only watched the first 2
Is he like
seasons.
he's the kind of the kid that had it rough, no dad and whatnot? Will's brother?
No, he's not one of the
Steve is the pretty boy.
yeah, the pretty boy that
Okay.
works at the ice cream shop in
Yes, I
season
know
2.
Steve. Got the
So
hair.
yeah, so DJ-O is the name of the musical project of that actor.
He's DJ.
Yeah, yeah. And his big hit was about Take the Man Out of the City. I think it's called Chicago. It's a great song, but he's got a new album, and I listened to it on vacation. It was like one of the most recent albums, like full albums that I listened to top to bottom. And all the songs are about different things. Nothing was envelope pushing, but all of the themes were like longing and missing people and kind of some optimism, some kind of, the Portuguese word saudade, which means missing. It's a great word. It means missing a place that you can never go back to. Like that longing of you want to go back there.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, but even more than like a more of an aching nostalgia.
So it seems like these are like real human emotions, kind of
Yes.
almost spiritual.
Yes, yes, and some things were about more broad themes and some things were about maybe one person. And then the other one is that I've liked for a couple of years. I love Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa? Any sh
I got a friend who's obsessed with her, or a former coworker,
I
and
think she's got a
I call her Dual IPA. That's her name.
Yeah.
Just Dual
Yeah, yeah,
IPA.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't and I have never seen I'm sure her videos are provocative, but I don't think they are so over the top. Like, nobody could be more over the top than Doja Cat, like, as far as making people mad about her imagery. But I think she's got an amazing voice. I think she's one of the last great, like, true voices singers. I know she at least 50% writes most of her songs, and I think she's got some production chops too. And she does sing about she's more in the, like, let's dance the night away kind of vibe.
party.
Yeah, but, you have to have like, party songs are essential.
That's fine, yeah,
People wanna have a good
celebration.
time. So those would be my first 2 that you should listen to. And then I really listen to a lot of 2010 stuff. I think 20s pop music was the pinnacle. Like, beyond the 80s pop was great, 90s pop was great. The 2000s were weird because it was all hip hop, like, very hip hop and R&B flavored. And then the 2010s kinda came back in with the more rock flavored pop, which is kinda more my jam. So, like, a band called Foster the People?
I definitely know the
Yeah,
name, yeah.
more of a rock
What's the hit from Foster the People?
Pumped Up Kicks?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that might be the only one I've heard from them.
So that album, which is called Torches, and that album's like 14 years old now, but it is one of my favorites ever. And he just came out with a new album that I haven't heard, but I'm sure it's great. Oh, and then one more, but I don't know if you'd really call it pop, but I love Tame Impala, which is one guy named Kevin Parker. And Kevin Parker actually worked with Dua Lipa they collaborated on a song. But he's great because he's one of those like instrumentalist, genius writer, producer types. And he's just all about the art of it. But he also knows how to write hooks. So
Well, I mean, Adele is pop, right? That's
I
gotta
think
be
so.
considered
I
pop.
haven't heard much from Adele lately, but yeah, she's a torch.
Yeah, oh, that reminds me, because Adele's legit. She's obviously one of the greatest singers of our time.
Yes. Yes.
Her songs are good. To my knowledge, there's nothing like dumb in there. I think it's all emotional type stuff.
Yeah.
You know, an artist, she is a feminist, but
Most of them are.
I don't know the extent of it. But I really like Sarah Bareilles.
People have told me about her and I just have not ever dived in.
Do
Dove
yourself a
in?
favor, because
Okay. Yeah.
if it's me who doesn't really listen to pop music
Right.
and I try to avoid feminist artists, she's good. Like, she's got some really good, and just like anyone else, she's got deep cuts. You're like, "What is this crap?"
Yeah, sure.
Everyone's got that. We got that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But she's got some, let's just put it this way, she's a great singer. She got a powerful voice, but there was a span of time there you can tell she was working with just the best producer.
Mm.
Really cool sounds, great mixes, unique instruments kinda stuck in there. She's the one that did, "I'm not gonna write you a love song 'cause you
That's
asked."
her.
That's her, and then
Okay.
she's got another one, "Say what you need to say, let the words come out, say what you wanna," something like that. Uh,
Yeah, I've heard both of those. Okay,
she's
okay.
got, she's got around 4 or 5 songs that I could just that I would put on a pop playlist every time.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, I will definitely add her. I think we should talk about Taylor for a minute.
Well, I think you have to.
Yeah, like, we can't have a of a
I
pop.
don't think it would make sense if we didn't directly address Taylor.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. You go first.
Okay, so she is clearly a hardcore feminist. She is an outspoken Democrat puppet, and what I mean by that is it's you don't hear her say something and then the Democrat Party follows up with it. The Democrat Party pushes something, and then, as if on cue, when an election's coming up, she starts parroting the thing that they're pushing. And I don't want this to be a conspiracy episode, but I have looked into many conspiracies, most of which end up being true. I do believe that she is basically an asset for a political party, which that alone makes me want to never ever listen to anything she ever says or does for the rest of my life. She's also a very destructive modern feminist. Like she seems to encourage sleeping around. She popularizes the no, don't get a man, live alone, don't have kids, fly around the world, get a new man in every city. I think she has very bad messages. And then my next point would be great songs. I've heard some of them. Some of them are just they do nothing for me. I'm like this is just because she's Taylor Swift and this is her song, so people are going to like it. So she's hit or miss as well. And full disclosure, these are just like I'm not saying anytime I say I don't like an artist's songs, I'm not saying they're bad. These are all preferences. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not a trash talker. If there's an artist who sucks, I'm not the person who goes on social media and says they suck. I'm not going to do that because someone likes it. That artist is doing it, maybe be doing it for themselves. I make a lot of music for myself. If you say it sucks, it means nothing to me. Like I wasn't making it for you, buddy. I'm making it
Right.
for me.
Right.
So I'm not saying Taylor Swift sucks. I'm not saying this song sucks. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying some of them are notably seem to be better because I like those and I don't like other ones. But yeah, clearly good, really good pop songs. And then my third point, which will be my most controversial point, because the her being a Democrat asset should not be controversial. It's pretty apparent. But my controversial one is I don't think she writes her songs. I think that she's involved. I don't think you can be that big and part of a political machine without people say, "Hey, no, we're going to be in the room with you," or these 8 fat dudes in their 50s who have been in the music business far longer than you. They're going to be involved. You can be in there too, and we can say you wrote it, but they're not going to let her off a leash like that. So I would bet my entire fortune that she does not do what little girls think she does and go into her writing room at her house with a pen and a quill with a lamp burning kerosene as her only light source and then reflecting on her previous relationship and writing a whole album about it. I don't see that being the case at all. So those are my 3 points about Taylor. Now let's let the expert talk.
Well, definitely don't call me an expert
Compared to me.
and not a Taylor Swift expert, but I did cover her song Lover back in 2021 with my band. And according to the credits, she's the only artist on
I don't think that means anything though.
it says,
That's what you would do. That's what you would do if you wanted someone to think you were the only person that wrote the song.
well, the thing is, as I was learning it, there's parts of it that as a woman, as a songwriter, as an acoustic guitar player, and we probably have about the same level of guitar skill because she's not a shredder or anything.
Right.
We've probably
But she
been
could
playing
play.
she can play and like I can
Yeah.
play, we've probably been playing about the
Yeah,
same.
she's probably better at the guitar than me, so I would not trash her guitar
No,
guitar
I'm not
playing
trying to
skills.
do that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, mine is pretty good.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
but my point is, as I was learning this song, I said to myself, because the verse and the choruses are in a certain vein, and then the bridge is such a different personality that I think somebody else wrote the bridge of that song. But when I tried to corroborate my hunch, I couldn't find any corroboration about it. But we do know that she writes a lot of songs with Jack Antonoff, who's got his own band called Bleachers, not the Bleachers, just Bleachers. I don't know, they've got like a couple of hits, but he's almost always in the room. And whoever else. And I don't know how, it's not like do you know who Diane Warren is? She was a song. So she wrote the Aerosmith hit, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, that was on the
Good song.
Armageddon. So she wrote that song, and she wrote a few other songs for Celine Dion. She was like the go-to songwriter in the night. So
Mhm.
I think she wrote My Heart Must Go On. So
Wow.
Diane Warren, right? So
Well, she has plenty of money.
right, but her only job is to write songs. She doesn't. She doesn't have an image to maintain. She doesn't, nobody had social media back then. So it was a lot more plausible for somebody to just crank out songs. Where I don't see how Taylor Swift has time to crank out songs without help because she is a whole brand. She
Well,
has to tour, she has to
yeah,
maintain a public image.
she has
She
to
does
do way
all this
more.
she's an artist.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. As far as your other points, I will neither confirm nor deny or anything like that. I think those are really interesting. I think it would be a lot more interesting if artists would just be quiet about that stuff
Or just come out with it.
or come out, like, be very direct. Either be
Yeah, like, yeah,
quiet
yeah,
or be very
I'll vote
direct.
Democrat every time and blah, 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 like, that
Yeah.
I would respect that so much more than if you're like, "I don't care about politics, I just think abortion should be legal." Like,
Well,
no,
then
you
that is
do
a
care
political
about.
stance, yeah.
Yeah, you do. Like, just go ahead and say who you vote for. Stop
Yeah,
acting like you're neutral.
I think
You
you're
just have
right,
this
yeah.
compassion about this one topic. No, you're an asset for that political
Do
party.
you think that's part of the reason that she's got so much money? Do you think it's money or do you think it's influence or what do you think?
That would be a very deep discussion, one that I don't think you want to be part of because you would get attacked on the internet.
Right?
But and we won't get into it, but in America, for a very long before we were born easily, our country has been directed in certain ways. It's not just us all making our decisions. We're mind controlled. We're mind controlled by the media, who's controlled by a very small group of people. We're controlled by the pop artists who's actually going to make it in pop music. It's not the person who's the best. It's someone who's really good and then handpicked by the people who control culture.
And we've talked about that on a little Twitter exchange before.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. It's undeniably true. Anyone who doesn't know that that happens is very naive. We are a brain controlled nation, and it's not just this nation. It's been happening from the beginning of time. That's why governments work so hard to censor you in any way they can get away with. Even back in the days with kings and peasants, the king would send spies to the taverns to listen to what the peasants are saying. Because if they're talking about something they don't want them talking about, then the king would have to address it and manipulate it in some way or create a problem. "Oh, we have to do this because of this new enemy who's coming." These are ancient tactics. It's always happened like that. And it's also Taylor Swift and the mega pop stars. That's part of the bread and circus to keep the people entertained, keep the people from caring about actual issues, actual problems, keeping them overstimulated so that we cannot critically think and we can't say, "Hey, why are white and black people fighting each other when it's clearly we have problems in our government which would are actually relevant?" Like it's white people and black people against the government. Why are we fighting? Like these are all ancient tactics that have been used for a long time. So pop stars, the top pop stars that kind of dominate radio and pop culture, they were curated and selected for very specific reasons. Every now and then you'll get someone like, let me give you an example. Okay, Cody Jinks. Okay, you're from Fort Worth. You know Cody Jinks. He got really popular. He's got he's got millions of listeners every month, but he ain't Garth Brooks. He ain't Taylor Swift. He could never get to that level unless he agreed to play ball. He has to play ball. He has to say these things, don't say these things, go to this convention. He's got to be controllable. So if you're not controllable, you're not going to reach the pinnacle. And if you do reach the pinnacle and you're not controllable, something's going to happen to you. The music industry had lost control of Michael Jackson, and then all of a sudden he overdosed.
Allegedly.
Exactly. And if you, of course, Candace Owens, the freaking greatest detective I've ever seen in my entire life, she looked into that story, and I don't know the details like she did, but there's a mafia. I won't tell you what mafia because again, I don't want to implicate you, but there is a mafia that controls America. That has a lot of different people control America, but they control our culture. They control pop culture. They control mainstream. The doctor that was giving Michael Jackson his painkillers was connected to that mafia. Like,
Yes.
undeniably heavily connected to that mafia.
Yes,
So
and
Michael Jackson was trying to get control of his empire, and they're like, "No, we don't wanna do that."
he was trying to do what Taylor Swift actually succeeded in doing, which was to own his back catalog,
Yeah.
to buy it from Sony, and they didn't want that to happen. And they actually when all of that then it finally truth came to light and then somebody had to be sacrificed on the altar, that doctor went to jail. Rightfully so, but think about how long he didn't go to jail,
Well,
or how
they
long it
tried to
was before he
they tried
did.
to discredit him first with the pedophilia stuff,
Yeah, that's true. That is
and
true.
that didn't get rid of him, so then they had to physically remove him from our realm of
Isn't
existence.
that so heartbreaking too? Because there's so many people who have actually done that to kids.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they don't the people the look, the mafia does not have morals.
Oh,
Like,
of course not.
it's all about power. It's
Or
like communists.
ethics.
Communists, mafia, anyone who is anti-human, anti-God, it's all about power for them. Power is everything.
Right.
Which if you remove God, if God did not exist, that would be true. That would be 100% true.
Right.
Power would be everything. If you go into someone's house and you say, "I'm going to kill all of you, the mother, the father, the three kids, and take all your stuff," if there's no God, then the right thing to do is to kill them and acquire more power.
Yeah.
Why would that not be the right thing to do? What's your
Right.
argument? Because
Right.
it's wrong. Says who?
Right.
God doesn't exist. No,
Right.
this is better for me. Why wouldn't I kill you and
You
take
have
all
a
your
nicer house than I do, so I
Yeah,
should have
like,
it instead.
I would like 2 houses. What's stopping me?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we just really got into a God discussion real quick. Well, that was a very smooth transition,
It was very well done.
but I would say that I would say, based on intuition and what I know, Taylor Swift getting control of her catalog came with conditions.
Mm,
And, we're probably like, basically, they have some way of ensuring she will play ball. That same mafia I'm talking about, they're the Epstein Island people. They've got
right.
not only do they use the carrot on the stick, and they also use the pike pointed towards your rear end. They use both. They want to control you at all costs. So, the carrot on the stick is making you rich and famous. We will make you the most famous pop star in the world. We will give you $1 billion. You're going to be on top of the world. Just do what we say. We control you. Make sure we control you, and you can live a great life. You can
See,
be a
isn't
legend.
that's such an interesting story too, because she was a country singer. She was just like some up and coming, very young country
She was
singer
completely untouched by the mafia.
at that time.
She was just yeah, she was
Yeah.
a talented young lady. She was
Well,
pretty.
and her dad was, I've heard a lot about how her parents put all of their resources into pushing her into that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, you can't,
which is fine. That's good. That's a good thing.
right. If your parents can afford, if you have the talent and your parents can afford to help you do that, then they should.
Yeah, what better investor than your own family?
Well said. But at what point did it turn over?
Well,
Was it before she was of age? Was she even old enough to really make that decision for herself? Or did somebody get to her dad?
when she got signed to a major music label, those are controlled by the mafia. A mafia. There's different mafia. There's Irish mafia, Jewish mafia, Mexican mafia. There's every mafia, right? Every group that can have a mafia. So the mafia controls the major music label. So once you sign on to that, they're going to string you along as long as they can control you. And they will control you with the carrot and the stick. That's the deals, right? Oh, here's $1 million and a tour that we pay for. But they also, if they can get some sort of incriminating, hidden, there's the whole concept of Epstein Island. Hey, we'll control politicians. We'll control the King of England. We'll control these oligarchs that run multi-billion-dollar companies, and they'll do what we say, or else we'll release this tape, and it will ruin their lives. Same with the Diddy stuff. That's the same type of operation.
Man, what do you think happened there?
I
Do you
kind
think
of lost interest in that story,
Well, I
but
mean, more broadly, obviously they knew, capital T, they knew that was all
mhm.
going on. Who did
I think
Diddy run afoul of above him that caused them to allow him to finally go down?
Yeah, see,
You know?
I don't I've heard it's a CIA operation,
Mm,
and the CIA definitely has worked with these mafias extensively. I'm talking business partner. And I don't know how much you know about the CIA, but they're extremely evil.
I'm sure.
Extremely evil. Which, I was telling someone the other day, you have to look at literally this is how you can figure things out better. This is how you can have a more clear mind to enable better critical thinking. Consider literally every entity as a corporation. In other words, Seth Jones is a corporation. The United States of America is a corporation. The Catholic Church is a corporation. Microsoft is literally and figuratively a corporation. Corporations can start out as one thing and then change. Like, I could change my personality. I could become a different person, but let's take the individual out of it.
They
That kind
call
of
it
muddies
rebranding.
rebranding. Let's take individuals out of it because that muddies my point. The Catholic Church could have started as one thing and became another. For example, if Satanists took over the Catholic Church, it's now ran by Satanists. And the Satanists don't ever have to tell you. They can be like, praise God, down with Satan. We're going to keep everything the same. But they now control the Catholic Church and they can hide there for as long as they want to and make subtle changes like, the Catholic Church has decided that gay marriage is okay. And like now the Catholics are like, what do we do? This doesn't make sense. But so you cannot trust a corporation. That's why I don't put my faith in the church. I put it in God, right? Because God never changes. God's word never changes. That if you put your faith in the US government, good luck. You put your faith in the Catholic Church, good luck. If you put faith in your local church, it might be great right now, but you better keep an eye on it. You
Yeah.
better be involved very deeply in it because your church can become corrupted. It's a
Right.
corporation,
Right. You have to get in on that corporation so you can keep an eye on. You can't be a passive participant.
which that leads to another issue. So let's just say the CIA was extremely corrupt and very objectively evil since the 60s, right? Since they killed Kennedy and took over, the Zionists took over, all that stuff happened. I don't know how much you know about all that, but
A little bit. We can have that.
CIA
Yeah.
has absolutely been our enemy for a very long time. They've experimented on us. The MK Ultra they've
They probably
created,
allowed 9/11.
they allowed not they took part in it. So the CIA, we could have a new president, right? I'm just gonna leave Trump out of it because I don't know what he's doing. But we could get a new president. Let's just say JD Vance takes over. And that sucker comes out wide open. He opens every file. He says, "Can you believe how evil the CIA has been? Look at the stuff they did. Y'all have been speculating, and a lot of you have guessed correctly about the terrible things they've done. But here's the stuff they have that you didn't know about." And so, just completely wide open and clear. And we're thinking, "Oh my God, we can definitely trust JD Vance because no other president's ever been this open with us." Then JD Vance would say, "I showed you all that just to show you what the CIA has been. Well, from now on, the CIA is going to be different." Okay, he could say that. That doesn't mean it has to be different. That just means he's gaining our trust again, and now they're going to do the same stuff, right? Or he could say, we're abolishing the CIA and we're opening up the IAC, and it's a different thing. No, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So you can't trust these corporations, you can't trust these entities. What you really have to ask yourself are core questions such as, is it good that there's a government organization in which we don't elect anyone in it and they can do things in secrecy and never tell us about it, being funded by our tax dollars? That's really the core question. It's not, is the CIA good or bad? How should we fix it? Should we have that? Should that be a thing? And that's a deep discussion too, because then it goes into, well, how are you going to do, international surveillance if you don't have a shadowy organization, right?
Right.
But that has nothing to do with pop music. I apologize for
Okay. Well, I mean, you were saying that there's a certain over umbrella organization that probably decides who we get to listen to.
they don't
Maybe not
care
directly.
They don't care what Taylor Swift is singing about specifically. But if it is in their interests to keep America a decadent society, which celebrates sin and doesn't believe in God, if she starts singing Christian music, they would have a big problem with that. They'd
Yeah,
have
if
a
she
huge
wrote
problem.
anything remotely pro God, like
Yeah,
there's
wholesome.
like her song Antihero, which is a total bop, as the kids say, which I learned from my solo set, has this line about having a vision or a dream about how she dies and then the family gathers around to read her will and the daughter-in-law thinks she's getting everything and then the line goes, everyone screams and someone says she's laughing up at us from hell. And like I would never, even if I wasn't a Christian, I don't think I would ever imagine that being in hell would be a fun or a good thing. And to even
You know
to
what it is?
put that in a song, like, "I finally got you in the end because I didn't put you in the will, and I'm laughing up at you from hell." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, that's clearly anti-God because it's celebrating hell. It's making hell seem less bad than it is.
yeah, like, so I'm learning this song and I'm like, "Dang it, I've gotta sing that." So I've only done it a couple of times, but I really that one really, really rubs me the wrong way.
Made you feel dirty?
It did, because it's like, well, first of all, you're glorifying, and I don't know if this is some kind of thing where she's calling herself the anti-hero and trying to paint herself as unpopular as possible because she knows she's so popular, but basically that part of the song is celebrating the fact that she didn't leave her descendants anything, which is totally antithetical to I wanna give my kids everything.
Well, that
I wanna give them everything materially, and I also wanna leave an artistic legacy because my son is very musical too. So, I wanna make music so that he is inspired to make music. Like, so he's
well,
like, "If my mom could do that, then I could definitely do that." You
even
know?
the message of not leaving your children anything is anti-God. It's
Yes.
pro-communist, and if communism's anything, it's anti-God, and that's why they burn churches whenever they get in control. But the communists are currently pushing. I heard a clip not just a few weeks ago of some prominent, it might have been Mundani, but it was some communist guy. He was saying, "I don't think you should be able to leave anything to your children. Like, that's not fair. They didn't earn that. That should go to the state and be spread out to other people."
Caught wind of that, yeah. I think it
Yeah,
was
so
that
that
guy. I think it was
again,
him.
she can leave these little hidden messages that are pro-communist and anti-heritage, anti-family.
Anti-heritage. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Candace Owens says, they do not want you to know anything about your ancestry. They don't want you to care about it. They don't want you to carry on your traditions.
Right.
They don't want you to celebrate your grandparents. They want you to think your grandparents were evil racists. They don't want you to love them. They don't want you to pass anything down. They don't want you to strengthen your genetics. They don't want you to do any of that stuff. They want everyone to be the same watered down, stupid, sinful, hateful person as the next person to their left, the next person to their right, because that's very easy to control. They
Right.
want to subjugate you.
A bunch of
They don't want you to have
individuals.
they don't want you to have any wealth. They don't want your kids to have wealth because wealth equals to power, and power is the only thing communists care about.
Yeah.
That's just a
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, again, if she started singing about God and family and Christ and stuff, the only way that would happen is if culture moves so far in that direction that they must now have someone in that sphere.
Well, I wonder now that she's gotten engaged if this is gonna
You
be
know
like a
what?
show wedding or if this is a real thing, if this is gonna
You
be
know
like,
what?
you
You
know,
might be correct.
I don't know.
What better way to keep your asset that's mind controlled tens of millions of women and some men, what better way than to transition into the direction, culture is going? America, there's been more people converting to Christianity than in our lifetimes in the
Yeah,
past 4 years alone. So maybe they're trying to transition her into being the God and family person. And the reason they do that, it's not so they can push that, because if you keep pushing that, communism has no chance.
right.
If God is the greatest disinfectant to communism, tyranny, and things like that. But what they would do if that actually happened, they would put Taylor Swift in the position to where all these Christians are listening to her, and then she would constantly take the liberal stance on any issue. So
Mm,
if everyone decided abortion is completely outlawed. Well, now they have a very well respected Christian family woman who will say it needs to be at least 2 months. Let them have 2 months. That's the God would want that. Jesus taught, and then she'd start saying these little scriptures. That's how they do it. But they have to have someone there that the people will follow. So this could be like, hey, if this transition happens, well, Taylor Swift will be in a position to continue to control these people who have become Christians.
that's really interesting.
That's how they do it. I don't, you people. Tell you what, the people who would call me crazy for saying that, they have not looked 1 second into how these people work.
Right.
They know nothing about it. All they know is that they don't know it. So I must be crazy.
I think it's definitely worth pursuing, and it also makes me worried for guys like DJO, who I was mentioning before, because he seems really sincere, like, you know, I don't know, like, I like his songs a lot, and I hope he's not one that agreed to play the game, but on the other
Well,
On the other hand, he was already on a hit TV show, and I'm sure it's similar for actors.
It is, but let me say this too. DJ O is not as big as Taylor Swift.
Right, and I don't think he really ever will be.
So that should give you some
Yeah.
that gives you an indication that he hasn't sold out like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But, everything I said sounds kind of black pilly, but I'm really just describing how it works, how they operate. But there is something people can do about it, and it harkens back to what I said earlier. Where you spend your money and where you spend your energy, so like who are you giving streams to? Who are you promoting on social media? Like, hey, listen to this person's song. If enough people did that to, let's just say, straight up Christian artists, they would be the ones with the success. And then the bad guys, the mafia, I'm just calling them the mafia. They're a combination of literal
It's
mafia,
a shorthand. Yeah,
Satanists, Frankists,
sure.
communists, but we'll call them the mafia. The
Illuminati.
mafia would at that point begin looking at these Christian artists and trying to recruit one of them. And inevitably, one of them would give in to temptation, and then this foreign money would come in to boost them. They'd get the commercials. They would get the Super Bowl halftime show.
Well, maybe
They would
that's a
become the Taylor Swift that can manipulate the masses.
think that I haven't looked into it a lot, but from what I've heard, there's definitely some fishy stuff going on. Or maybe not so much now, but definitely in the 80s and 90s, there's definitely some interesting things going on in the mainstream Christian music industry because it's an industry too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, maybe that'll be another podcast.
Well, they have a lot of tendrils. They got tentacles and everything. They're smart. These are the smartest, they're the craftiest, smartest people, and they're not held back by morals or ethics.
No, they're
Again,
not.
only power. So they can do whatever they want. They don't, you would feel bad if you deceive someone. No, you would feel bad if you deceived 50 million people intentionally in order to degrade what they believe in slowly until they become decadent worshipers of sin. Like
Oh,
you would feel bad about that.
yeah.
The mafia doesn't feel bad about that. That's a nifty tool. Hey, that's a very effective one. Yeah, go
Right.
try that.
They're
Yeah, yeah, let's
amoral.
try that one.
Yeah, they'll do
They don't think
anything.
twice about it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad if I have too little on in a photo because I'm married.
Right.
Like I have to walk this line where I want to be beautiful and attractive in a photo for
Mhm.
my not, and as I'm getting ready to launch my EP, I have to think about my image such
Right.
as it is.
So you're
Uh,
on the complete other end of the spectrum of the mafia, the
yes.
power matters. You're the complete opposite.
Yes, as you are as well
Yeah,
as
well,
an artist. Yeah.
I'll try. Well, Mandy, this is an hour and 20 minutes, so we're gonna wrap it up. I'm trying to get repeat guests, not just because I like the guests I've had already, but also because it's hard to find guests when you're a new podcast. So I would like to bring you on again with probably the focus of talking music again, because it's a good thing when you're talking about one topic and you start bleeding into other topics, which is what we did. So it went perfectly. So good job there.
This was such a great time.
It really was.
So, Mandyland, which is my first ever solo EP, finally should be out November. I'm thinking it's probably gonna be November once I get
Okay.
art and everything. So, if you wanna talk around then, I can send you a pre-release like version,
Yeah,
and you can listen to it before we talk, and we can talk about that, and then whatever else music wise you want to talk about.
that is perfect.
Yeah.
That's a built-in topic right there.
Yeah.
So let's plan for that. Let me know when it's ready.
Okay.
Send me the files. I use Dropbox, but you can do it whatever I can operate, do that.
Okay.
And then we'll coordinate the podcast, and we'll have to record the podcast at least a few days prior to the date you want the podcast to come out.
Certainly, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
I'll get you the preview with enough time, and yeah, that'll be excited. I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Well, I appreciate you, Mandy. Yes, ma'am, me too.